Imagine a superhighway, but one that stretches across an entire continent. And it's not for cars, it's for the clean energy of the future. Now, this isn't some sci fi movie plot. It's exactly what Europe is building right now. And frankly, it's one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects on the entire planet. So get this, Europe is building a 58,000-kilometer hydrogen network. Yeah, you heard that right. Let that number sink in for a second. 58,000 kilometers? That's long enough to wrap around the Earth almost 1.5 times. We are talking about a massive energy revolution, and this is the scale of it. And the deadline they've set for this whole thing? 2040. What you're looking at here is basically the blueprint for that new energy superhighway. You can think of it as the brand new circulatory system for a green economy, designed to pump clean hydrogen from where it's made to the industrial hearts all across the continent. Now, the fuel for this network is green hydrogen. That's hydrogen made by splitting water using renewable electricity, so it's completely emission-free. But okay, how in the world do you build a network this huge, this fast? Well, that's where the method gets truly revolutionary, because they're not starting from scratch. So how are they going to pull this off? Well, the answer lies in a strategy that's as clever as it is ambitious. It's all about transforming the continent's energy grid, basically from the inside out. And yeah, that brings us to the big question, right? Building this much new infrastructure from the ground up would take decades and just an astronomical amount of money. So what's the secret? How do you make this vision a reality? The answer is brilliant, and it's so simple. You use what you already have. About 60% of this massive network won't be brand new construction. Nope. It's going to come from repurposing existing natural gas pipelines. They're leveraging decades of investment and infrastructure that's already in the ground. So this idea of repurposing is really the secret sauce here. Now, it's not as simple as just flipping a switch. It involves a lot of detailed work, checking the steel to make sure it can handle the smaller hydrogen molecules, upgrading equipment. But by doing this, the whole project becomes faster, way more affordable, and just feasible. It's a win for the economy, a win for the environment, and a win for the communities involved. And they don't just pick any old pipe. It has to pass this really rigorous 3-step test. First up, the hydrogen market test. Is there actually a future demand for hydrogen in this area? Second, the gas market asset test. Can this pipe be converted without messing up today's gas supply? And finally, the economic efficiency test. Is this really the most cost-effective way to get hydrogen from A to B? A pipeline only gets the green light if it's a yes on all three. So the engineering behind this is just incredibly clever. But why? Why go to all this trouble in the first place? Well, this gets us to the core reason this is all happening. Europe's urgent push to decarbonize and secure its own energy future. See, it all comes down to these key goals. Europe is legally bound to hit net zero emissions by 2050. Plus, hydrogen is crucial for cleaning up these really heavy industries. Think steel manufacturing, ammonia production, the ones that can't just plug into an outlet. And on top of all that, it's the perfect way to store and move huge amounts of wind and solar power. And this map just shows the core problem perfectly. The best places to make cheap green hydrogen, think sunny Spain or the super windy North Sea, are often hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from the industrial centers that need it, like Germany's Ruhr Valley. So this hydrogen backbone, it's the bridge that connects that supply with the demand. And the demand this network is being built to serve is, well, it's enormous. We're talking about 2,300 terawatt hours by 2050. That could be a quarter of Europe's total energy consumption. And just look at that huge slice for industry. That is the main driver of this whole clean energy revolution. Okay, but this project is about so much more than just moving energy around. It's about creating a truly interconnected market. And that's where the real economic power of this network gets unlocked. You can really see the two possible futures here. On the left, you've got this clustered approach with all these little isolated islands of hydrogen production and use. But then, on the right, you see the interconnected vision. The difference is huge. It's a single, competitive, and strong continental market versus a bunch of small, inefficient ones. And the price difference between those two visions? A staggering 330 billion euros in estimated cost savings. That's the economic prize for building one big, efficient, continent-wide system instead of just a patchwork of local projects. The Gas for Climate Consortium really says it best here. A unified network means cheaper energy for everyone, it means we can make better use of renewables, and it creates a much stronger, more secure energy system for the entire continent. It's all about building collective resilience. So, all this sounds pretty incredible on paper, but is it, actually happening? Oh, absolutely. Let's take a look at the roadmap that's already turning this ambitious vision into a concrete and steel reality. All right, so this is not an overnight job. A typical pipeline conversion project takes about 7 years, and it's a pretty complex process. It goes from feasibility studies and deep engineering design all the way to the most critical step, the final investment decision, or FID. That's the multi-billion-dollar point of no return, where the real money gets committed before a single piece of pipe is even laid. And this chart shows how the rollout is planned to pick up speed. You see some steady progress in the first few years, but then look at that hockey stick growth planned for 2030. Over 19,000 kilometers are scheduled to be commissioned in that 1 year alone. That signals a massive ramp up and a ton of confidence in the project. So the big takeaway here is that this is so much more than just pipelines. If this project succeeds, it will completely reshape global energy markets. It will create a blueprint for decarbonization that countries all over the world can follow, and it will establish Europe as a dominant hub for clean industrial power. This is a foundational piece of an entirely new energy economy. Follow TrendPulse, more than what's trending.